Right, top of next hour stops by. One at $10 billion. Number two, the Los Angeles Rams. If you want to know why they moved them from St. Louis, this is it. 10 years ago, when Forbes did a list, the St. Louis Rams were dead last in value. NFL upgraded. Sorry, St. Louis. Oakland, they upgraded to Vegas. It's been a big hit. And the other teams here for the radio audience, Rams 2, Giants 3, Patriots. Are the Patriots really worth $7 billion? San Francisco, Jets, Miami, Philly, Raiders, Washington. So you've got, they've got now. I will say the Chargers.
I just got to point this out real fast. I'm obviously going to let the clip play, but you got the Cowboys, the Giants, the Commanders, and the Eagles, all top 10 in most valuable franchises. I love when people always try to act like the Eagles aren't really that good or that large of a fan base or that relevant. And it's like, look at that, look at that. And they don't rely on, say, like New York to bring in that money, or like the massive state of Texas. So I just think that's pretty interesting. And the fact that the Commanders are still so high up, considering they had so many issues for so long, especially with ownership, is really telling about how legit, if the Commanders can right this ship with, especially with their new coach and Jade and stuff like that, that the potential could be absolutely massive.
Move has kind of felt like parallel, much better stadium, but the first couple of years were pretty clunky. But now with Harbaugh and Herbert in tow, that will hit as well. And so, the last 10 years, as baseball's had less social currency, as the NBA, despite the fact that women's basketball, men's college basketball, Olympic ratings are through the roof, the NBA got their money, but they don't have their relevance. The ratings keep going down. And what's amazing about the NFL, these valuations keep going through the roof, and both New York teams stink. Chicago, big market. Washington, big market. Atlanta, big market, are forgettable. Houston, until last year, a mess. And the teams winning all the games are small market: Kansas City, Baltimore, Buffalo, Cincinnati, Green Bay. So it's amazing. Whereas the NBA really needed the New York Knicks or the Celtics to hit. NFL, the Kaepernick controversy, no impact. The CTE lawsuit, no big impact. It's the sport we watch. It's the sport we bet. And I'll go back to saying this. One of the reasons the NFL is king, and there are a lot of reasons, they are constantly proactively changing. Baseball changes because it has to, because it's losing audience and relevance. So they put in the pitch clock, which I love. But they did that because attendance and TV ratings had gone down for a decade, and networks said, speed the game up or else. The NFL, in a power position, I've compared it to Tiger Woods, number one in the world, changed his golf clubs. That's power. The NFL makes changes annually at the kickoff, and people will complain about it, and it'll take a while in the preseason in September to get it right. But in the end, always willing to, like St. Louis Rams won a lot of games. They had great players. The league's not going to wait for local municipalities to get it right. I defended Dean Spanos. San Diego, they were all in for baseball. The NFL team couldn't get the right stadium. Well, I'm sorry. It's like Cleveland. You better figure out what America likes. It's football. If you're paying homage to the local baseball team or your NBA team over an NFL team, guess what? The NFL, they'll put the heat on you, and they'll move teams. I mean, Jacksonville, get it together. They'll move teams.
Okay. So he didn't really talk about Dallas that much. So I don't know why it says, why hasn't Dallas been more successful? Let me see if I can get back that list. Where was it? Where are you? Okay, there we go. So there's a few things that I want to talk about. I'm going to address Dallas, why I think that they haven't been more successful despite all that money. But one, as Travis O'Shea was mentioning in the comments before on a completely different video about Jerry Jones just being a master businessman. And he is. Say what you will about him being a GM and an owner and all that type of stuff. The guy is clearly a top level businessman, what he's helped grow Dallas to become. And the truth is, it's a big chunk of that, but also once you build that massive mountain, once you have that, it's so right. The rich get richer and the poor get poor. Like once you amass this massive fan base, it's very hard to lose. Outside of some sort of, really bad scandal that's just like or that people are horrified by, they're going to continue to be Dallas Cowboys fans. That fan base, since they have such a massive head start and such a massive stretch than any of these other teams, they'll just be able to continue to grow exponentially. It's why it feels like it's virtually impossible to ever surpass Google, YouTube, Microsoft, Apple, because they're just so massive that now it's just impossible. I mean, try to create a new phone right now that's like not Apple or Samsung. It's like it's possible, but it has to be like next level. And that's why maybe the Kansas City Chiefs can get there if Patrick Mahomes truly rips off like 5 Super Bowls in a row, like kind of like what happened with New England in a way. Like it's possible, but it's still going to be very difficult to leapfrog, say, the Dallas Cowboys. But it is. It's very interesting. And truthfully, when we look at the dollar revenue like that in terms of what's most valuable, it's the way how these things are kind of calculated now is also seeing how many fans you have, how many subscribers you have, how many followers you have. That's a part of it because it's also your ability to monetize off them. Those are all the people that are buying all of these jerseys. They're the ones that are just paying for feeding money into the machine of the Cowboys, the Rams, the Raiders, the Eagles, whatever it may be. Of course, also ticket sales and any of that type of stuff. So it is always interesting to me I don't put too much stock into the relevance of it because again, it's like this list comes out and then Colin's now asking, well, why hasn't Dallas been more successful? And it's like, because it doesn't fundamentally matter. It doesn't equate to you being a winning franchise. Look at the New York Jets. Look at the Dolphins. Look at the Raiders. Like they look at the Giants. I mean, we can put the Giants to the side, but like those teams, the ones that I just named, like they have not won anything in like what, the last 20 plus years, longer, right? At least the Giants won a couple Super Bowls with Eli. Like it makes sense, and it is New York, and I know the Jets are New York, but it's just interesting to me, and that's why I kind of highlighted the Commanders that they're still most valued because it is Washington. It is a massive market, and it's like if they can get that team going, the potential is huge because you also, when you're in that area, I think you're also going to be feeding into some fans from Pennsylvania, from New York, right? The whole tri-state area. So you can kind of have that feeding into it. That is what makes, I was actually just talking about this with my father the other day. It's really interesting that you have Philly, Commanders, and the Giants all together. They're all within like 90 to 100 miles away from each other. And then you have Dallas in the same division, a million miles away, right? In a whole different world of its, in itself. Like it makes no fundamental sense. And the truth is, the reason why I'm highlighting this is because those franchises feed off each other, right? The NFC East is an incredibly competitive, passionate division, as we have proof here, right? Like literally all 4 teams are in the top 10. That's pretty remarkable. And they all feed off of each other. Those rivalries, the intensity. You have people who often live in Philly and then they'll move to, say, New York, or New York to Philly. Like it's a lot of overlap. And so they can kind of feed off each other. And it obviously drives up revenue and makes, everything more valuable. And so that's what it is, kind of so crazy that Dallas has been able to do this in itself. They've been able to become this team that feels very prestigious, right? You're in Texas, Dallas. It's massive state, very passionate, very intense. And they were able to do this at a time when everything was growing, and they were able to win spectacularly with massive names, right? And they were able to carry, right? The whole thing is when you have the star on your helmet, it's like it means something. But they've been really relying on that now for years, and it hasn't been going their way. Tony Romo does not move the needle like Troy Aikman did, or even Dak did for that matter. Don't get me wrong, Dak has massively passionate fan bases, but he's not really in that VIP room, mainly because he hasn't won. He hasn't won Super Bowls, and right now we're living in the golden age of Super Bowls, meaning you have to win Super Bowls, and you have to win multiple Super Bowls. If Joe Burrow comes away and wins a Super Bowl next year, it'd be like, okay, that's great, but Patrick Mahomes has more. If Lamar Jackson wins a Super Bowl, they'll say, finally. They won't say, see, I told you he was great. They would say, finally. See if you can go do it again. Patrick Mahomes won multiple in a row. Why can't you? Look how many Super Bowls Tom Brady has. We're even saying that about Patrick Mahomes right now. Patrick Mahomes is great and is doing unbelievable, but he still has a lot more Super Bowls to catch up with Tom Brady. So it's right now it truly is Super Bowl or bust for these quarterbacks, for these franchises, seemingly. I try my best not to view it that way. I try to view it as, are you consistently competitive? Do you consistently fight for the opportunity to win a Super Bowl? And right now, within the last 5 years, you could say yes for the Rams, no for the Giants, no for the Patriots, yes for the 49ers, no to the Jets, no to the Dolphins, yes to the Eagles, no to the Raiders, and no to the Commanders. It's really fascinating when you really look at this list. The Eagles actually won a Super Bowl in the last, 7 years. The Rams did. The Patriots probably technically in that window, right? I forget when their last time was when they won. 49ers, no. So it's literally the only teams that have recently won a Super Bowl are the Rams and the Eagles. And I guess, right, the Patriots won, if we're using the Eagles, and I think the Patriots won that next year, right, in 2018. So it's just those three teams. So we know it's not necessarily Super Bowls equating to money, but yet we say that that's the most important thing. So it's a weird topic to discuss, quite frankly, because I'm just not so sure what the inherent need to mention, like how valuable these franchises are. But we know it's not necessarily winning, or it's not necessarily Super Bowls. So they should do a master class on how the Cowboys were able to do this. Were they able to get such insane momentum when they were winning, not unlike the Patriots, and then they've been good enough to continue to maintain and grow that fan base, or not? So I would love to see someone kind of unpack that more, just how they truly were able to grow to the dominant force that they are. And like I said, once you're worth like 10 billion like that, and you have massive amounts of fans, like they have significantly more fans than these other teams, like that's just power. We know that. That's why all people are obsessed with getting subscribers and followers and all of that, because it gives you more power. You have that audience. You can monetize all of it. You can use it. You can use it for support. You could run for offices. Like it works. That's why everyone's all about it. And the Cowboys no one has been able to outclass the Cowboys in that regard. And that is a huge part of that is definitely Jerry Jones. But the problem is it doesn't lead to a winning culture or winning Super Bowls, as proven by this list. So I wonder if the Cowboys, and I wouldn't say that the Cowboys need to focus less on that, because I don't think those are, need to be mutually exclusive, right? As we could see as with the Patriots. I don't think like them doing this is getting in the way, because I don't think Jerry Jones is making specific decisions to be like, well, this is going to boost, our the evaluation of our team. Therefore, I can't sign Dak now, or I need Dak to take a pay cut. Like I think those are just completely different things. But I am curious though, especially for you Dallas Cowboys fans, or maybe people who are right outside of that. Like, why do you think the Cowboys have such a massive fan base, and how do you think it continues to grow, even though they have not really won anything in 30 years now, right? Something like that. I forget. We keeps getting longer and longer and longer. It's hard to keep track. Like, they haven't even been to an NFC Championship game, and yet they're still a dominant force in how much they're worth. So I would love to hear your thoughts, because I'm looking for more insight personally. But I think also the other thing that I wanted to mention real fast is, because as I mentioned, Travis O'Shea was talking about the Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones being a master businessman. I think, though, that a lot of Dallas Cowboys fans, I know they've kind of struggled with Jerry over the years, but I think it's really reaching a boiling point at this point. I think they're starting to really see him as just a bumbling old man. And I think that especially a huge, I'm going to try my best to kind of tiptoe around this. I was thinking about this earlier. They remind him the fan base itself of the Dallas Cowboys, especially within Texas, I think Jerry Jones is starting to remind them more vividly of another guy that helps do things with the country that they really, really do not like. They do not like him at all. And I think there's kind of reaching that breaking point. You know, like every interview he gives, everything he says, it's just like they want him to get out of the way, just like they wanted that other guy to get out of the way. And I'm not trying to make this political, so don't read it too much into that. But it is what one of my observations is, honestly, based off of a lot of the fans' interactions that I've been having with Dallas Cowboy fans. So yeah, but those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? What do you make of this top 10 list? And honestly, the lack of Super Bowls among pretty much all the teams except for 3 of them. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.